Alright, welcome back to the internet for the shortest video you've watched all week, potentially. So, what I'm going to talk about really briefly here, just because I have to crank out these daily videos, is motivation and how you can find motivation when you don't feel motivated. So, one thing I'll say that really is potentially some new knowledge to you is a lot of people tend to think of motivation in this way, okay? So you have motivation, and this can be sort of random. I don't like purple. That's gay. We'll go blue. And so you have motivation, and what that drives is your action, okay? And so you have to get motivated in order to take action. But in reality, I think this is actually a little bit backwards because a lot of the projects that I've done, I wasn't that excited when I started them. And so what I had to do is I had to start to get my fingernails dirty and learn little bit more about the problem and what I'm trying to solve. And I realized that when you start to take action, I mean, by the way, this isn't really an original thought, but when you start to take action, you actually gain motivation, okay? And this can be a little counterintuitive because if you're like, oftentimes the biggest problem for me was like doing homework. And it doesn't really help, especially if you have like some fat ass essay or like a big homework assignment that you have to do. It doesn't really have to help to say, just start it and you'll get motivated because, I mean, that's oftentimes not how it feels, right? You just don't want to do it regardless. And so there's kind of like a trick that you have to do in order to become motivated. So let's say that this is your project, okay? And we'll say that this part is a little bit shrouded in mystery. We'll say that actually some of these edges are shrouded in mystery. And so you don't really know how much work this is going to be, you know? This could actually this part of this project could actually be like this. It could be as big as or bigger than the original project, and you don't know until you start, right? But what I like to do is I like to say, okay, this part on the edge here, this this might be sort of fun. Maybe it's not even fun. Maybe it's just sort of satisfying to get it down. So what we can do is we can just pull this out and we can just knock this out, okay? You know what? We'll just do a green check mark. And what you'll find is that once you knock out something easy, something that can just kind of get the momentum going, is that you'll come back to this and you'll say, you know what? Now that I've done this part, I really want to do this. This just seems I could just knock this out. And then before you know it, you're just demolishing parts of this project, okay? So that's kind of my tidbit for today. I think this can help you get started on projects. Um, and let me just add one more thing is sometimes you have a big project like this, and I'm just going to duplicate it. And what happens is you look at it and it doesn't look like this at all. In fact, it has this part and then this part, and these are all kind of shrouded in mystery, right? And you don't know how long they're going to take or how much work they're going to be, and you don't have this nice little piece that you can just pull out. And this is a much scarier thing to tackle because you can't just knock something out in 30 minutes and feel good about yourself and keep pressing on. You actually have to you actually have to just do it, you know? And this is where I kind of like to watch Protect Our Parks. POP, baby. It's Joe Rogan. It's got some comedians. It's fun. But if you can just put something on in the background, you know, maybe it's music if you don't normally work with music, this can kind of help take the edge off where you're not picking up your phone every 5 seconds or just staring into the void, you can actually have a little bit more of a positive experience and just kind of start like chipping away at it, you know? Even if you can only do little parts like this, eventually you're going to chip away at it enough so that you say, "Oh, you know what? I'm just going to knock this part out now because I've chipped away the edges." And so then you get the same effect where if we come back, you can just pull that out. And then you can come back and you can actually wrap it up. So that's kind of my advice. Yeah, because it's tough. I mean, like, sometimes you're super excited and motivated for projects, and then other times you just lose motivation for whatever reason, and it's just, ultimately life, it's not all about those moments where you're motivated and where you want to just fucking grind. It's about those moments where you don't want to grind and you just do it anyways, because if you just work when you're motivated and excited, you'll get absolutely fucking nowhere. You have to work when it feels like hell, you know? And I want to say one last thing is that, especially if you're like an entrepreneur like me, is if you're looking at these type of problems, and this kind of looks like faces or some shit, like a turtle, like little neck band, like little mouth here. But if you're looking at these projects and they seem like really daunting and scary, you might be thinking, you know what? What if it makes more sense to just do something else? Like, I've got this other kind of idea right here, and this seems a lot more interesting, blah blah blah. And there is like a tendency to just have this shiny object syndrome. I mean, this happens to literally everyone. This happens to people in like, I went to college for a bit, and so many people switched majors because I think what happens is they kind of end up with homework assignments and like this, and they don't see where this is going. They don't see a degree that they actually want, or they don't see kind of the full picture, and so they go, you know what, maybe I should go try something else because it looks really attractive right now. This is a shiny object. This looks nice. So I'm going to do that instead. And the crazy thing about life and about being sort of young is it feels like you have a lot of time, and it feels like you can just not know, and it feels like you can just kind of do whatever. But how it actually is that even if you're doing the wrong thing for 2 years or 4 years or longer, if you're doing a thing rather than just, because how it ends up happening is you start doing this and then you go, "Oh, you know what? This looks good. Oh, you know what? This looks good." And you just ping around and you get absolutely nowhere. I mean, let's do another one of these just to show my point. You're back at square one basically, and you get nowhere. But if you were to just focus on one of these things and just grow the shit out of it, you're going to have so much more knowledge, so much more experience, and it doesn't matter if it's the wrong thing. As long as you're doing something, as long as you're building something worthwhile, that's really all that matters. Worthwhile might not be the wrong word. As long as you're building something, um, it's going to be worth it. And so you just kind of have to be disciplined and push through. So, thanks for watching.